right, well, it's official. Like a referee with a whistle, the college football playoff is set to expand effective for the 2024 season. So we've got this year with a 4-team playoff, next season with a 4-team playoff, and then that's it. We're going to 12 teams. A lot of people, most people, have already made up their mind about how they feel about this 12-team playoff because this is not a new idea, even though it's now officially official. This is something we've all known was coming for over a year. It's been talked about for over a year. It's been debated and voted on by the playoff people for over a year. So people are kind of on one side or the other about this, and just, you know how it is nowadays. People rarely change their mind because then you got to admit you were wrong before. It's just a whole mess. I have changed my mind. Initially, I was against any playoff expansion at all above 4 teams. But the more kind of information started to come out over the last year and a half or so, I've kind of warmed up to the idea of a 12-team playoff. And I'll give you some of the reasons why I'm okay with it maybe here at the end of the video. But in case you've been under a rock, let me just explain to you how this 12-team playoff is going to work starting for the 2024 season. We're still going to have a playoff committee. There's still going to be voting involved. That's not going away, okay? The way it's going to work is after championship weekend, the 6 highest-ranked conference champions are guaranteed a playoff spot. Not necessarily the top 6 seeds, but you're guaranteed a playoff spot if you are a conference champion, if you're one of the highest-ranked, if you're one of the 6 highest-ranked conference champions. So we have 5, of course, Power 5 leagues. 6 conference champions are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. That means at least one group of 5 team is getting in every single year. The remaining 6 spots that would make up the 12-team playoff are going to be referred to as at-large bids, and those are going to be the next highest 6 ranked teams, the next 6 highest ranked teams by the playoff committee or whatever we call it. It may not be called the playoff committee. It may be called the playoff committee, but it takes a different form or shape than what we're used to now. But in any case, that's how it's going to work. The 6 highest ranked conference champions guaranteed a spot in the 12-team playoff. The next 6 highest ranked teams are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. And then the playoff committee is going to seed the teams. Now, the 4 highest ranked conference champions will be seeded 1 through 4 by the playoff committee. Those 4 teams will get a first round bye. So you won't have to play a first round playoff game. Teams 5 through 12, they will play a first round playoff game, and those games will be played on college campuses. That's right. The first round of the 12-team playoff, which includes teams 5 through 12. So, you'll have 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, 7 versus 10, and 8 versus 9. Those games will be played at the home field on campus at the stadium of the higher-ranked team. So number 5 versus 12 will be played at the home stadium of number 5. 6 versus 11 will be played at the home field of number 6. You get it, right? Okay, good, great. You'll play that down. Now, as far as when this is going to happen, of course, 2024, but it's going to happen the week ending December 21st. So the first round of the playoffs is going to be basically the week before Christmas. So to everybody that has been complaining about bowl games, oh my God, they're putting 5-win teams in a bowl game. Oh my God, I hate watching these bowl games because half the players sit out. Oh my God, these are terrible bowl matchups. I'm not watching this. Okay. First of all, no one was making you watch it to start with. Second of all, now, even if you want to watch football, you don't have to watch it. You can watch playoff games, first-round playoff games in the middle of December instead of the Gasparilla Bowl and the Walk-On Bowl. I think this is pretty good news. First round, week ending December 21st. That's when the first round of the playoffs will be. Home field of the higher seeded team gets home field advantage. 12 versus 5, 11 versus 6, 10 versus 7, 9 versus 8. Top 4 get a bye, right? For round 2, the quarterfinals, they're going to use the New Year's Six bowls that we use now. And it's going to be on a rotating basis between the 6 teams. So there'll be 4 games in the quarterfinals because you'll have 8 teams left after the first round. So the quarterfinals in 2024 are going to be the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl. That'll get us down to 4 teams. The semifinals. The semifinals in 2024 will be the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl. And, of course, the national title game they've already announced for the 2024 season is going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. For 2025, the New Year's Six bowls will rotate. So in 2025, the quarterfinals is going to be the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl. The semifinals will be the Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl. The national title game will be played in Miami. So there you go. I can't make it any simpler than that. The top highest ranked, the six highest ranked conference champions are guaranteed a playoff spot. There you go. The next six highest ranked teams get into the 12-team field. This is all going to be voted on by a playoff committee. And obviously, if you win your conference, that doesn't get voted on, but your seeding will be voted on. The four highest ranked conference champions get the first round bye. There you go. That's how it's going to work. 12 teams. First four get a bye. So in round one, 8 teams, 4 games. That gets us down then to 8 teams. Quarterfinals, 8-4, 4-2. I think you understand how it works. I'm okay with this. I think we're going to get some great games. Now, I get it. I get the argument against it. There's 2 main arguments I hear against the playoffs, and I understand both arguments. The first argument is you hear is this is going to devalue the regular season. There's really no rebuttal to that. You're right. The more teams you put into a postseason, the less meaningful the regular season becomes. That is true. However, I still think that college football is going to have the most important and meaningful and best regular season in all of sports. And let me just give you a couple of examples here, okay? You can even take this weekend's conference championship games, which I guess isn't technically considered regular season, but we'll back up a few weeks after this. But take the LSU Georgia game, right? LSU's not making the playoffs this year. They could beat Georgia 100-0. They're not getting in. They're not getting in. They're ranked too low to move all the way up into the top 4, right? If they beat Georgia in a 12-team playoff, they're getting in. They would have won a conference. They'll end up getting in, right? North Carolina and Clemson. Neither one has a chance to make the playoffs. Who's going to watch that? Let's just be real. Who's going to watch North Carolina and Clemson in the ACC title game? Well, if the winner was pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot, you'd probably watch it. Now, I get that the winners aren't guaranteed because it's the 6 highest ranked conference champions and there's 10 conferences, but let's be real. Clemson or North Carolina, either one with 2 and 3 losses, if they win the ACC, they're going to be ranked higher than a random team out of the Mountain West, Sun Belt, American, whatever. You get what I'm saying. So, still be in. Go back even to the regular season. Teams right now in the regular season that are ranked 15 through 20 in the month of November don't really have a shot at the playoffs, right? Usually you're talking about teams with 2 or 3 losses by that point. They don't have a chance to get into the playoffs. A lot of people don't watch the games. Well, now, 2 or 3 losses isn't necessarily going to keep you out. So, you have a lot of big games potentially that could be played in the month of November that with a 4-team playoff maybe aren't that big of a deal or going to become a huge deal when the playoff expands to 12 teams. Instead of a couple of teams fighting every year over the 4 spot, which is what we end up with, right? Because almost every year, everybody has agreed on about 3 of the 4 teams, and then you usually have like 2, maybe 3 teams that have a claim to the 4 spot, and we argue about, but we're talking about 2 or 3 teams. When you go to a 12-team playoff with 6 at-large bids to the highest-ranked teams, you're going to have, in some years, I went back and looked, like just based off of records and how far a team could move up and things like that, you're going to have anywhere from 10 to 20 teams in the month of November that are fighting to get into that top 12. That's going to make every single game those 10 or 20 teams play in the month of November much more meaningful than they are right now, when those 10 or 20 teams have no shot at getting into a 4-team playoff. So I agree. Take this year's Michigan-Ohio State game into the regular season, both teams 11-0. It don't get no bigger than that. That is, it doesn't get any bigger than that for a regular season game. 2 11-0 teams getting ready to face off, both ranked in the top 5, last game of the season, both in the same division. Winner goes to the title game, loser pretty much not making the playoffs. It doesn't get any bigger than that. And in the future, a game like that would not be as big as it was this past weekend. That's 100% true. Well, maybe saying it wouldn't be as big is not the right way to put it. It wouldn't have it wouldn't have the importance and the significance that it had this year, right? Because if Ohio State and Michigan are both 11-0 and they get ready to play at the end of the regular season in a 12-team playoff, they're both getting in, doesn't matter what happens in that game. So I get that. So there's going to be some give and take. I think you're going to gain a lot of quote-unquote meaningful games in November that previously people referred to as meaningless. you're also going to lose some of the significance of some of the huge regular season games. So, again, that's an argument that I understand being against expansion. If you're against expansion because you don't want anything that devalues the regular season, I completely understand that, and there's nothing I can do to argue the point, because you're right. It is going to devalue certain regular season games every single year. It just is. And I get that too, and I don't like that either. My way of sort of wrapping my brain around it to try to accept the idea of the 12-team playoff is the argument I just made about adding meaning to a lot of other games that maybe otherwise wouldn't have it. Again, I'm not here to change anybody's mind about how you feel about the 12-team playoff. I'm just explaining my thought process on the 12-team playoff. The other thing is bowl season. I have always loved bowl season, going back to when I was a kid and we would get out of school for Christmas break for 2 or 3 weeks, and just some random Tuesday or Wednesday I could flip the TV on at 2 in the afternoon and there'd be a college football game on, and I'd sit and watch it. And I've always loved bowl season for a lot of different reasons, but I always remember back to when I was a kid and could watch those bowl games at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I've always loved bowl season. But as time has gone on, it has gotten hard, even for me, to get excited about. A couple of years ago, we had Miami versus Louisiana Lafayette in the Walk-On Bowl. Last year, Clemson versus Iowa in the Cheez-It Bowl. I'm not making fun of those teams for playing in those bowl games. That's not what this is about, because in years past, it feels like I would have been more excited about Clemson and Iowa. Maybe not Miami and Louisiana, but it does feel like bowl season is almost an afterthought. And for someone my age who grew up and fell in love with college football during a time when bowl season was everything, bowl season was all we had. There was no playoff at all. Forget a 12-team playoff. There was no 12-team playoff. There was no 4-team. Hell, when I first started watching college football, there wasn't even a BCS that guaranteed a 1 versus 2 national title game. There was nothing. It was just bowl games, and then the AP voted on a national champion. That was it. And as time has gone on, bowl season to me has kind of lost some of its attractiveness. And I'm not saying that this 12-team playoff will fix everything that's wrong with bowl season. It won't. The issues with bowl season are go beyond that. But this will give us great college football games to watch in that period of time around Christmas where it seems like the world kind of slows down. A lot of people are out of work for those couple of weeks at the end of the year. And if you're one of those people that's tired of watching the Gasparilla Bowl and the Walk-On Bowl and the Pinstripe Bowl with a bunch of 5 and 6 win teams, you'll have another option. You don't have to watch that to get your college football fix. You'll be able to watch, potentially, if you take this year as an example, a Clemson versus Alabama could have legitimately been a round 1 matchup this year in the college football playoff. Utah versus whoever, name the team, Kansas State, whatever. All these teams in the top 15 that would have had a chance to make a top 12 playoff. Stop calling me. I'm doing LouTube. Yeah. So I'm okay with the playoffs. I'm okay with the playoffs expanding. Is it perfect? No, nothing ever is. But I'm okay with it. It's going to give a lot of other teams an opportunity to make the playoffs every year. I think it will keep fans more involved in college football later into the year than what it does now. Because as much as I hate it, the reality is, and look, I do this for a living. I see the numbers. I can tell when people start tuning out from college football. It's easy for me to tell. I can look in my YouTube analytics and tell, right? It was worth making Oklahoma videos for me all summer long and the first month of the season. People would watch them. If I made an Oklahoma video right now, nobody would watch it. That's just reality. I'm not saying it's right, but that's just the reality. Oklahoma fans have kind of tuned out this year as we've gotten towards the calendar turning from November to December. And I'm using Oklahoma as an example, not to pick on them. This is a lot of teams this happens to. Now you got your diehard fans that live and breathe college football year round like I do, and it's great. I wish everybody was that way, but reality is it's not. I think expanding the playoffs, giving 12 teams a year an opportunity to play in the postseason as opposed to 4, will keep more people engaged in college football longer every season, and we'll keep more eyeballs on the sport, which, if I'm being selfish, of course includes this channel as well. So I can't pretend like that doesn't factor into my thought process. It does. But I'm okay with the expansion. I don't think it's going to ruin college football. I don't think it's going to ruin the regular season. I still think we're going to have amazing regular season games every single year. And I think in the month of November, we will have a lot more games that are very meaningful that in the past, not very many people would have paid attention to because those teams were already out of the playoff hunt. Whereas now, maybe they still have a chance to get in and more people stay interested. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I'm going to do a conference championship game preview video, give you my picks and my thoughts on the 5 major conference championship games coming up this weekend. Starting off, of course, Friday night, the Pac-12 championship game in Las Vegas, a rematch, Southern Cal and Utah. Utah beat Southern Cal earlier in the year on a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Could be a good one, of course. Southern Cal's, this is a playoff game for Southern Cal. If they lose, they're done. If they win, they're in. So that's literally that simple. It's funny, too. There will be more Ohio State fans watching the Pac-12 title game than there will be Southern Cal fans. Now, part of that is because there's just a lot more Ohio State fans than there are Southern Cal fans. But Ohio State fans, very interested in this Pac-12 title game, right? All the Ohio State fans done ran out and bought Utah hats this week. Good luck to you, suck nut. I don't know. Lucky for Ohio State. This is lucky. Now, I don't know. I'll let you know who I think is going to win the game when I do the preview video, so this isn't a pick for the game. But luckily for Ohio State fans, Utah, not nearly as soft as you are. Yeah, Utah's got a chance.